the magic healing energy. And today we've got Michelle from Nature Health Solutions on the Gold Coast. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good, Chandell.
Good.
How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, great. And thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about you and your practice, if you can, please?
Sure. So as you stated, I'm on the Gold Coast. I am a naturopath, an EFT practitioner and matrix re-imprinting practitioner. I've been in practice for roughly 12 years, and I just love the work that I do.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so you said you've been doing this for 12 years. So through that time, you must have had some beautiful clients come through, and you've seen some amazing things. Can you just tell the audience out here, what would a first-time client experience coming to you? Like, is it scary? Like, you know, do you do something weird, or, you know, because EFT, I mean, we all know what naturopathy is, but what's EFT? You know?
Yeah. So EFT is emotional freedom techniques, and it's commonly referred to as tapping. So it's not scary. It's a wonderful technique that actually can change the way you feel about something, or help you to learn how to regulate your emotions, or change a negative emotional experience to be perceived differently. So it does sound a little bit different, but there's actually a lot of research about it out there now. It's not totally mainstream, but I actually work in clinical research trials. I facilitate those on EFT, and we've done EFT for chronic pain and EFT in cancer patients as different subjects.
Excellent. And we all have baggage there. We all need something released. You know, I think anyone's lying if they can't tell me that they've got something hidden away in what I call my backpack, you know, back in our emotional backpack. Yeah,
absolutely. We're such emotional beings. Like, every day we make hundreds of decisions based on our emotions, and we don't realize it, but they're all emotionally driven, you know, from what we're going to wear today, which way we're going to drive to work, you know, what we're going to eat. It's all about how we're feeling in the moment, and that's then how we behave, and the decisions we base are based on that. So, you know, they're minor examples, but, you know, major decisions and major patterns in our lives have come from, you know, our whole history and things that have happened to us, and emotions that we have stored. And sometimes they're unconscious or subconscious emotions and patterns and behaviors that are there. So EFT helps to create freedom around those emotions. So it doesn't erase memories, but it will change that emotional driver, or remove that emotional negative charge that's there around a specific event.
So you're trying to say that it gives me more control over that, rather than becoming innate to just do something that I've always done through a programming that might have been developed through trauma or something like that? Or are you saying that no, you said that it doesn't erase it, but what do you mean by that? Like, you say I was, I don't know, it might not go down this, but say I was told I was fat and ugly or something as a child, and I now make, you know, decisions around that subconsciously for the rest of my life. Would EFT help me with that, or am I always going to be fat and ugly for the rest of my life? You know, in my head. How does that work? How would that work in that situation? Or Absolutely. Is it not that, or am I going down the wrong road?
No, it's totally perfect, and I have worked with people in that exact example that you gave.
Yeah.
So EFT works on unraveling the neural pathway that behavior or belief has been set up in, and, you know, leaving it open for a different perception. So patterns and behaviors, yes, they've come from an experience, and it might be something someone said to you, something that happened to you, and we then create some kind of behavior based on that, and carry that through the rest of our lives. So for that example, some people might have issues with food. You know, they might eat too much food, or not eat not enough food, or they constantly have this feeling that they're that they're fat and ugly, like that comment that was made to them. So working on the emotions around that specific event and the tapping process. So you're actually tapping on 8 different points of your body. That tapping process calms the amygdala and allows us to, it changes the perception of what happened. So that event then is just something that happened. It's not something that's driving a continual unhelpful behavior.
Yeah. And, you know, that then can trigger on to, you know, physical problems too, like, you know, gut health and stuff like that, can't it? You know, do you, being a naturopath and an EFT practitioner, do you actually then combine the two, or, you know, you just do one or the other? What's going on there?
Yeah, so I was first a naturopath, and then I discovered EFT. And the reason I love it so much is that I would have certain patients there I'd have a certain level of success with. They'd have changes, they'd be feeling better, but there might just be that last bit where it wasn't completely resolved. And it became apparent to me that there was some emotional thing keeping them stuck and held in that place for the physical issue that's going on. So by combining both, so people that will book in for naturopathy, often when I sit with them and take their case, I will find that there is some emotional component there. So part of their treatment plan will be to do some EFT. Whereas a big portion of my practice, people will just be coming and booking in for EFT to start with. And it might be because they've got, you know, an emotional issue. They feel angry all the time and they just can't understand why. Or it also might be that they have a physical issue or condition that they don't know how to fix it. They've tried everything possible and they've heard about EFT and they want to give it a go. So, you know, that direct impact of our emotions on our physical being is very apparent in that situation.
Yeah, and you're right. You know, I was talking to a girl the other day and she had gut issues, and that's where I kind of come up with the gut issue thing. She had gut issues since she was like 12 or something like that. And it wasn't until she was 32 where she went and saw an EFT practitioner. And they actually realized it was from something that a kid said to her when she was 12 at school. And she carried it all that time, and she had been to, like you said, every doctor, every this, every that, trying to fix this gut issue, and it just didn't resolve until they put the 2 and 2 together and dealt with it, and no more gut issues. That's just amazing. And I was just really surprised at how long the body holds on to things. And how easy it is to resolve when you find the right thing.
It's there's a period from when we're born to when we're 7 years old that's called imprinting years. So everything that happens around us is what creates the person we are through the rest of our lives.
Wow, so that's really important underneath 7 to be careful what you say and do around your children then.
What they watch, the things they experience, it's really, really important. And there's a study called the ACEs study, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences study. So what they found in that study was the more adverse experiences these people had in childhood, the poorer their health outcomes were, you know, as adults. So the direct correlation between things like obesity, anxiety, cardiovascular disease, cancers, were the higher your ACEs score was, the more chance you had of these health issues and the more of those health issues that those people actually had. So, you know, that's actually part of my consultation process is we go through that ACEs questionnaire just to establish where someone's at. And it can be really, really affirming for them and empowering to know and understand why they're at the place they're at now by looking at that with the people I work with. They just feel better already knowing that, you know, they're normal.
Could you imagine how much that would have affected their lives? You know, if you can't concentrate, if you're in constant anxiety, how much learning you would have really got at school or in your job, or confidence to develop even further, it would have really affected it. I just want to take you back a bit. You said that, you know, you do this in your consult, you do this in your consult, you do this in your consult. And I've got in the back of my mind as a doctor, like what, you're in there 15 seconds, you're out again. So how long is your consult? You know, am I there for 4 hours? You know,
no, not there for 4 hours. So a naturopathic consult is an hour. An EFT consult is also an hour. You come into my beautiful consult room, sit in a lovely, comfortable lounge chair, and we talk through, you know, what your priorities are, find out, you know, what you want help with and how I can help you.
Yeah,
and
so you really care. You really care by the sounds of it. You know, it's not just like, hey, out of here, you know what I mean? What can I give you out of here? It's you're really taking the time to find out the true person within, aren't you? And what really is important to them. Well, that's so special. Good on you. You're going, I broke that conversation, then keep talking. No, sorry. It's so beautiful. Yeah,
that's all right. And I do care about my clients, and I love them all. And you know, I think I've never had a client that, you know, I didn't want.
Yeah.
People talk about that and they say, oh, you know, what about this type of client, you know, the person that whinges or whatever. And I'm like, well, I have never ever had one of those. So I do love the work that I do. And so yes, I spend the time with my clients and really try and understand them and what they've been through and where they're coming from. And I'll meet them where they're at. So I like to look at it like, you know, client-led treatments, because you know, there's no point me having my agenda and what I want to work with, because I'm working with the person that's in front of me and what they need. So that's most important to me. And a lot of those clients tend to be women, and they'll either be coming for their hormones, or they'll be coming because they've realized, you know, at the point of their life, which is generally middle age, that they're not happy with something and they want something to change. And that is often, you know, we often use EFT in that instance. They just feel stuck because they've had a pattern their whole lives, and maybe that's doing everything for everyone else, which is really common with mums. And they all of a sudden realize, hey, how did I get to this place where I'm on the bottom of my to-do list? That's not working for me anymore. But to just try and change that with positive thoughts and willpower is just almost impossible, because they've got this program. So working with those women in, you know, how did that establish in the first place, and all of the things that are showing up in their lives that are still playing to this program. So, you know, working through those emotions and why that keeps happening, and how they can put themselves first, without feeling guilty, without people thinking that they're being petty. You know, all of those thoughts are running through their head, and sometimes logically they know that that's just ridiculous, but it's like trying to you've got a big pile of garbage, and it's like spraying air freshener and expecting the smell to go away. The willpower and the positive thinking is not going to cut it. You need to get in and remove the garbage. So that's the EFT and matrix is the removal of the garbage, and that's where you get real change in your life. And you know, your life changes. And I used to think that was that sort of slogan was a bit, you know, gimmicky and not for me, but you know, I see it every day. And you know, that's why I love doing this, is because it's making a real change for people each time. Because each time you come, you will feel different, you will feel better, you will feel calmer every time that you leave. Like that's a guarantee.
You know, I just look at that as being totally amazing, purely for a couple of reasons. You're the pivotal change. You're a pivotal point change for someone, you know, and if they keep on going down a particular track, and I'm not saying this is all, but, you know, life can get so heavy. I call it, you know, you called it a garbage bin. I call it, you know, we keep on piling things under the rug because we haven't got time to deal with it now, or it's too hard to deal with it, or we don't know how to deal with it, or we're just going to move on, and whatever. And the pile in the rug gets so big that we end up having to trip over it all the time, and it becomes a problem. It actually becomes a danger to our health. And sometimes people get the pile so big that they end up going to, you know, mental health issues are so deep that, you know, it goes down to suicide or thinking of suicide, or they do some pretty silly things they don't need to do, and you're there holding their hand every way, pulling one piece at a time out of that underneath the rug, and helping them deal with it individually at a time. That is beautiful. That is really, really nice, because that's, I think, why people don't deal with their stuff, because they don't know how to. They're too busy. We keep on shoving it underneath, and often it starts accumulating as a child and just keeps on building up. And especially, like you said, mothers, what do? We have all this stuff that goes on with our home life, then we have all this stuff that happens at school, then we get a job, and then we've got a house and a boyfriend that is not that nice, and it just keeps on building, doesn't it? And we hit our mid-40s and we kind of go, hello, this is all too heavy.
Yeah.
But you don't know what to do with it, so you keep on ignoring it. Yeah.
And I have this statement I use all the time with people: the thing is not the thing. So someone will come and say, I'm just really angry all the time, I'm just really cranky at my almost adult kids, I'm just cranky with my husband. And it's like, well, okay, let's peel this back, because the thing is not the thing. You being angry about someone spilling their dinner on the floor, it's not about that. Let's have a look at what it is about. And sometimes people just don't know what that is, so I like to help people work that out, and at their own pace. So I'm also a trauma informed practitioner, so I have worked with trauma and have had lots of training in it. So knowing the right approach and how to help people sneak up on that without sort of diving into it and keeping them safe is always really important.
Because you're going through all these trigger moments, aren't you, as well, especially in deep trauma, and I'm not saying that, everyone with major traumatic things won't have baggage. Everyone's got, I don't know what baggage is the right word to say, but, everyone's got something that we've dealt with over our time that needs to come out, because eventually it gets too heavy. We keep on throwing all that stuff back in, don't we? So trauma is one thing, and that's going to get huge now with the COVID. Are you seeing an influx of people coming to you with I don't like to say mental health issues, but it will end up mental health issues, because it's just that one last nugget in the bag that just becomes too heavy, isn't it? They've got a load of other stuff from previous, and then all the pressure that we've had from all different directions over the last couple of years. Sometimes I'm seeing, anyway, from my side of the story, and you can tell yours, that this is just kind of like the final straw that's breaking people's backs. Are you seeing that in your clinic, or?
Absolutely. And it'll either, like you said, it can go two ways. When it just becomes too much, it can become a mental health issue, or it can become a physical issue.
I was going to say that.
When the weight of all those emotions becomes too much, your body will try and give you signals and signs that something's not right. And it's like waving a little red flag and saying, hello, listen to me, can you deal with some of this stuff? It's getting too heavy. So, whichever direction it goes in, that's what I'm seeing, over the last 2 years. And it's the things that are piling on, like the frustration, people feeling constricted and restricted, like they haven't got choices. Some of those things are triggering because it might relate to something, when they were younger, where they didn't have a choice about something or couldn't speak up about something. So that's another thing. So, that pile has already started to build, but now, constantly it's getting added to. So, that is something that I'm seeing more commonly. And the beauty of I suppose restrictions is that a lot of my work now has become available online. So, like we're talking now on Zoom, we can work with EFT and Matrix, in this capacity, which means this is accessible to anyone, anywhere. So that's I think a real positive that's come out of the last 2 years, is that people are looking for those options and it's available.
Yeah, well, I always go back and think about, you remember the girl, was her name Dolly, the little girl that committed suicide, that was out in a station, and obviously they're restricted. Where now, like you said, the internet, is, it just opens this all up. And with EFT, you were saying before that, that is something that, yeah, they can actually do to themselves if they're trained, and you offer that training, is that right? Yeah.
Yes, so I'm also an evidence-based EFT trainer.
Yeah.
And so this is, all certified, and it's to teach people, just the general public, how to use this technique themselves. So that training is a one-day training usually, and it was being offered in person. So this year we've flipped it around to make it available online as well, so that, again, it's accessible to more people. But at the end of that training, you will be able to go away and use it in your day-to-day life for everyday issues. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you're going to, get to the bottom of a big trauma that might have happened to you in your life. Definitely that still requires, one-on-one work with a qualified practitioner. And, even myself, any of my bigger issues, I work with a colleague, to keep my emotional health in check. Yeah. But definitely the smaller day-to-day stuff, people learn how to use it themselves for stress and anxiety, for sleep, for minor physical issues. Yeah. You can use it with children. So I've done programs where we've taught in early learning centres all of the staff how to use this, and they were using it as part of their daily routine with the kids. So yeah. It was staying ahead of the game. So if they sort of set them up for their day before anything happened, any emotional event happened, they noticed there was less of those emotional events during the day. So as an adult, you can do the same thing for yourself. Set yourself up daily with it.
How empowering is that too, knowing that you're not totally think the word, I was going to say useless, but it's not that, you know what I mean? Like, that I can do something, to help myself till I get to, I don't know, fill me in a little bit more. Someone was saying that you can use these to overcome a panic attack at time. You can use, can you explain that a little bit more? I mean, it was just something somebody come in a conversation, you've just brought that to the forefront of my mind. So how would I use that in a panic, a panic attack situation? I mean, obviously there's a lot more going on there, and I would have to come back to you. But say I'm in the middle of a shopping centre, and I go to have a panic attack. How would I use that? What would you suggest?
So there's a couple of ways that you can use that in that moment. So you can tap on the 8 tapping points and just tap and breathe. So usually with EFT, you're tapping and you're saying certain words, and that's the difference, like between talk therapy and reinforcing a negative feeling, is because you're tapping at the same time. That's what makes the difference. Yeah. So in a panic attack situation, just tapping and deep breathing, just breathing and tapping. And what that's going to do, it's going to calm the amygdala, which is then going to send those messages down, which is that having that effect on the parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah. So that's one way you could do it. But if you're really not into tapping on your face in the middle of a shopping centre because you think you might look a bit weird, there's a discreet it does not bother me. I've walked through a shopping centre before tapping myself, but a discreet way to do it is, so on the sides of your fingers, of your nail beds, they're actually acupressure points. So all the tapping points we tap on are acupuncture points. So it does have some traditional Chinese medicine foundations in it. Yep. But so on the side of the nail bed there, so just there on every finger. So you can actually squeeze here, and again, just breathing deeply. So you could be sitting down just doing this on your fingers. Kids can do it in exams, so that was my next question. Yeah, that was my next question. Is there some tools that you give to children, like on their first day of school? Or I just seen some kids, in my working life, where they're just nervous wrecks by the time they're 5, and I just think, they're facing such big milestones. To us, they don't look big, but for them it is, their first day of school on their own, or their first day of kindy on their own, or having to keep going back into school when they're getting bullied and stuff like that. To be able to give them some tools is such a beautiful thing, just to make them feel like they can empower themselves. Yeah. It's a shame a lot more people don't realise
you know, how much this can help children, you know. So you said, sorry, I'm digressing here. I'm sorry. I know we weren't supposed to go down this track, but I just find it really interesting how you said that you were working in kindies and
Yeah.
old daycare centres. Like, that is gold. That is absolutely
Yeah.
gold. Have you thought about going around? See, I am really digressing now. I'm so sorry. Have you thought about giving like little talks at schools, preschools and stuff like that? You know.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the preschools are, you know, they're on board with mindfulness and they'll do yoga and things like that. But what I have found is that they're not totally open to it because it's a little bit weird. Trying to get into schools can be quite difficult as well. So I think that I think the best way into that is actually with the parents, sort of getting the parent education and trying to teach it that way. Because there was less childcare centres that wanted to take it on than there were that didn't. So you know, the ones that did had great success. And you know, what an amazing tool and a way to change our world is that empowering these children to know that they have control of their emotions and they can regulate themselves in any moment. Within minutes they can feel calm and they've regulated themselves. So I mean, yes, it works exactly the same for adults, and it's amazing. But you know, adults end up with so many layers, whereas with children they haven't got as many layers as us. And if they're taught this technique early on, then they don't develop the layers, because the work you do with tapping, it lasts, it sticks, and once they know that it works and how it feels, because you physically feel different, they will go back to it. So my two younger children, they know how to tap, they know how to do EFT. And my youngest, who is 6, she has taught kids in the playground that are upset how to do it. She'll go over to them and help them with it. So, you know, it's something that is really easy to learn and can be applied anywhere. And, you know, if a 6-year-old can help, you know, a little friend out of feeling upset, you know, it's just a way to have a real big ripple effect.
So I think what I can suggest anyway to our viewers is that they come and have a consult with you, experience it, then do a little bit of training with you, and then they can kind of keep themselves on track and the children on track, and further down and then they can actually recognize things that are getting a little bit bigger and then go, okay, I need to come back to you, or something like that. Would that work? Is that the kind of ideal situation to keep going?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So have you got a clinic coming up? Like, have you got a training thing coming up, or it's just, you know, contact you, or how do we go about that?
So we've got a training in 2 days' time on Saturday. So yes. But the next one will be early next year. So we try and run 3 to 4 of those trainings, 1-day trainings a year. Otherwise, when you have a consultation one-on-one, you actually do start to learn the process anyway. So I do talk about, you know, what it is, how it works, get your background, and then as you're doing it, you will just start to learn it, because it's quite a repetitive technique. So it is easy to learn, and that's where some people go, how can something so simple have such a profound effect? And it really doesn't make sense to them. But you know, I work with it every day, and it's you know, I'm seeing it every day.
But I think exactly what you were saying before about the way the human body holds mental and emotional, physical things is in layers. I always call it the onion layer. You know, the actual problem is right at the core of the onion, and every other ailment that we see there's an ailment in every layer, but it's only to cover up the one in the center. So sometimes I find when you open the first layer, you might find a problem, and it's not really the right it's not the problem, is it? Exactly what you were saying at the start. That's not the problem, but we do have to deal with that problem, and then we open another layer and peel back the other layer until we actually find that core problem. The Band-Aid effect, I suppose, isn't it? You know, we cut ourselves, we put a Band-Aid on it, and then that gets infected, we put another Band-Aid on it, and that's how the human body works. So really, when you're unfolding these layers physically with your naturopathy, but then also mentally with your EFT, I mean, that would just speed things up astronomically for a start, the results for a start, but also come to an actual complete, not allowed to use the word cure, but a complete resolution. Yeah. You're incredible, girl. How come I hadn't known about you before? Like, come on, That's so cool. And exactly like you said before, we can now contact you online. We don't have to come to your clinic. We don't have to, be miles away anymore. And we can empower ourselves and our children and our situation in our life. Oh God, when life's going the other direction, you're the gold in the light. You really are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cool. So, so if anyone wants to contact Michelle, I'm going to leave all the details down below in the comments. So feel free to contact her. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I don't know what you think, but I think I've just struck gold here, mentally and physically, to come together and have a total understanding of each side and to work, okay, we're going to pop the mental side up now and we're going to pop the physical side up, and just balance that whole thing all the way down and gently bring you back to what's the word for it? Happiness, contentment, like to pure, You're amazing, Michelle. Thank you. I'm so sorry to keep on saying that, but I just can't believe I've actually come across someone that can actually just bring it all together. And then also focus on children as well, because that's the core of everything, isn't it? I mean, that's not where everything comes from, but I'm digressing again because there's so much I can come with you at. Often, like if we get in a domestic violence situation, we often pick up, that narcissist or whatever, because we've had something in our childhood that believes we're only this, and then we take that person on and it builds up. So often, like you said, or there might be trauma from the relationship. The real trauma has really come from you not feeling great as a child, or something earlier.
Not worthy. Not worthy enough. And then people say, well, why do they keep ending up in the same relationships? But the thing is that to them it's familiar and it's safe, even if it's actually not. So and that's the cycle that's hard to break. That's like trying to do air freshener on a pile of garbage. It needs a lot more care.
Yeah. Oh, you're amazing, girl. Anyway, I'm going to have to finish that up. But thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get hold of Michelle, like I said, I'm going to have all the comments down below. And please go experience her. You gold. And what I might do is down the track, I might contact you again. Actually, I forgot to ask you, sorry. Can you just tell me, what's one experience through your whole practice that you bring forward to, like, this was an amazing event that you really didn't think would resolve that, or, I started up going in this direction and it popped out, something on the side that was really surprising but amazing, but it was a big difference to someone. Can you think of that? I'm sorry, I've gone back and forth, haven't I?
That's okay. The things that really stand out for me all the time, because they just make such a big difference to people's lives, is the women I work with around their fertility issues. So working on the emotional aspects of infertility with those women, and the number of women that have become pregnant after doing my EFT fertility program is amazing. It's a very high success rate, but we're not talking about their eggs and their diet and their all of the stuff that you would typically think you're talking about. But with fertility, it's there's a lot of things about, will I be a good enough mother, or am I deserving enough? Not feeling supported, that's often a common one for people that have miscarriages. So working on all of those typical emotions for women that are struggling to fall pregnant, and working through them, and just the comments and feedback from those groups are things like, they could just feel so much lighter as they went through so it's a 6-week program, but as they went through, they could feel actually changes in, you know, just how they felt physically,
Yeah.
as well as emotionally. So that to me is just, you know, it's an untapped area for fertility, and it is just so amazing that these women will contact me and go, hey, I got a positive test, you know, and you know, and I love that. And the thing is not the thing, you know, it's if you're too focused on the fertility and what's going wrong and not looking at that person as a whole being and their emotional state, and those typical emotions with infertility, then you know, you can just be missing that big piece to the puzzle. So that's probably they're the things that have had the biggest impact in my practice.
And you brought up this beautiful child. And, you know, sorry, I know I digress too much, but I'm just trying to think right now, Pfizer's coming out with a drug to help fertility, and it's their gold. You know, they think that's gold. But like you said, you know, you may be able to, in the end, produce a baby, but if your mental health is not right, how are you going to care for that baby at the end of it? So I think, like you said, if you deal with that, all these things that innately that your body is telling you, if you get that right first, when you actually do have your baby, be well prepared for that baby, and that baby will be healthy mentally, physically and emotionally, and then turn into a more balanced mentally, physically, emotionally adult. So yeah, again, you're gold. I've got to go. You can have me here forever. I tell you, you're such an interesting person, because the body is so deep, isn't it? It is just so deep and so amazing, and a lot smarter than what we think it is, you know, and it will keep on putting things in our way if there's something that's not dealt with first, and we can keep on poking at that, and it just won't respond until we fix what it needs to be fixed. Yeah. Oh God, you're beautiful, girl. Beautiful. Anyway, if anyone else is excited as I am with Michelle, please go, go visit her. She's brilliant. I'm sure she's going to make an absolute, you know, change in your world. And you might even be surprised even if you think it's not a big issue, when you actually delve into these things, you might actually find that it actually is controlling a lot of your life. These things that you've been doing, and your life is now built together because innately you've been putting all these behaviors together to equal where you are now. Or you might have a physical ailment that you think is not huge, but it's causing a long-term damage that really can be resolved and your whole life change. And then you get to the other side of it and you go, wow, why didn't I do that 20 years ago? You know, like, yeah, how many times has that happened? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you, Michelle. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll leave all your links below. I'm sure you're going to get inundated with people now. And if you want to do training, I suggest go see her first, though. Go experience that wonderful healing, and then you can feel it, you can resonate it, and then you can put it into practice and help your children and you around you on your everyday life. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I'll talk soon.
Thanks, Chandell, for having me. Okay.
No worries. Bye.
Bye.